Welcome back, and stick around and find out why I dislike the words alcoholic and addict.
Staying sober with Papa Joey. It's all about your sobriety.
Before getting sober, I started reading self-help books. My life wasn't really heading in the direction I was hoping it was going to go. So I thought maybe it's time for a little bit of self-improvement. I bought some self-help books. This is back in 1985-ish, somewhere around there. Now, some of the authors that I read were Anthony Robbins, Wayne Dyer, and Napoleon Hill. Now, a theme of most of those authors, and a lot of this stuff was kind of like repackaged. It was the same thing, but just said in a different way. But all three of those authors and others would always talk about how we need to be careful with the words we use to describe ourselves. We need to use words to empower us instead of, tear us down. Now that made sense because time after time I would beat myself up, especially when I got into trouble because of my drinking. I would lose jobs, relationships, but I wasn't ready to stop drinking. So the books helped, I'll be honest. And I learned a few things, but I continued to drink. Back in the 80s, I was a musician. I played drums. I used to play a lot, and I would go out a lot. I loved checking out the live music scene, and also, of course, I was able to drink. I knew a lot of the musicians back then, and there were a lot of great bands, a lot of great local music where I grew up in upstate New York. There was this one band that I used to follow a lot. It was a high-energy funk band, all great players. And a couple of the players I became real good friends with, and I did a couple of gigs with those two guys. But the bass player, man, he was somebody that I always admired. Now, he was a tall guy, about 6'2", 6'3". He had the long hair, the funky glasses, full beard. Just a badass bass player. But off stage, man, he was the nicest guy. Always kind, always considerate, always, asking how you're doing, giving you words of encouragement. And one day when I was out listening to the group and I was talking with a bunch of people, one person mentioned that this bass player was a born-again Christian. And at first I thought, what? No way. Seriously, a born-again Christian? And then the more I thought about it, it made sense because I never saw him drinking on the jobs. And when I did a couple of gigs with him, he wasn't drinking. He was always kind, always with encouraging words. Everybody enjoyed being around him. And you know what? I was like, wow, I bet he is, a born-again Christian. I went to a Christian bookstore and I bought a few books. And growing up Catholic, of course, I had a Bible around. I just needed to dust it off. Well, I began to read the books and opened the Bible a few times. And the same thing happened. I noticed that even in the Christian books, there was plenty of talk about how we need to be careful with our words and the power of the tongue, and we need to choose our words wisely. Now, of course, I was still drinking a lot, but some of this stuff began to resonate with me. It wasn't until about 6 or 7 years later when I decided to walk in to an AA. While in AA, it's almost mandatory that when you speak in a meeting, you state your first name and then you use the tagline, and I'm an alcoholic. So my first meeting, when I was asked to share, that's exactly what I said. I said, I'm Joey and I'm an alcoholic. But I didn't like it. I just didn't like the way it sounded. And then all of a sudden, I started to remember all those books that I read and the theme, the power of our words. And so I'm thinking to myself, I'm labeling myself an alcoholic. this can't be good. And then the more I sat in the rooms and listened, throughout the course of a few weeks, I noticed that people with a lot of sobriety, we're talking 10, 15, 20 years, some 30 years, still said, "Hi, I'm so-and-so, and I'm an alcoholic." I was like, wow, there's no way I'm going to keep calling myself an alcoholic for a lot of years. There's just no way I'm going to do that. Well, while I was in the room, that's exactly what I did. While in AA, I often thought about people that I knew that got sober, quit drinking and drugging outside of AA. I mean, a few of them, went to the church. They accepted Christ as their Savior. They, repented from their sins, and they chose to, basically push that lifestyle away and move forward, following the teachings of the Bible, of Christ. And now I'm not trying to get religious on you, but I'm just telling you, what was going on at that time with my life. And they never referred to themselves as an alcoholic. And then there were people that I knew that did it the old-fashioned way. And that was, they white-knuckled it. They just put the drink down, they put the drug down, they went through whatever withdrawals they had to go through, and they just continued on with life. When I was in AA, I was also managing bars. And it was interesting because here I am working in an environment where there's a lot of people drinking. Some, you could say alcoholically, and some of my customers would even refer to themselves as alcoholics, but they were happy about it. They continued to drink, and for the most part, they were having fun, and it wasn't up to me to judge them. But when I was in the meetings, again, I would say I'm Joey and I'm an alcoholic, and it would bring me right back to what was going on in my bar and those people, and I would think, I'm not them anymore. I used to be that guy at the bar drinking a lot and doing things that you normally do in bars, I guess. But I'm not that person anymore. But yet, I keep calling myself an alcoholic just so I could belong to this group. And I'm not tearing down AA. I chose to be there, but it just didn't seem right to me. Because here's the way I look at it. I had a relationship with alcohol. Sometimes it was a good relationship, sometimes it was a bad relationship, but I had a relationship with alcohol. Then there came the time where I had to end my relationship. It was no longer working out for me. So I moved away from that relationship and I never went back. It's over. I don't drink alcohol any longer. My favorite saying is, I don't drink no matter what, and no matter what means no matter what. Of course, if you're into drugs or you were into drugs or both, it was, I don't drink or use no matter what, and no matter what means no matter what. There was a time I was married. I was in a relationship. That marriage ended. The relationship was over. I don't tell people that I'm married still. It ended. That relationship with that woman is over. There's no reason for me to state that I'm married because I was a long time ago. I think you understand where I'm going with all of this. There's no need to label ourselves an alcoholic or an addict. Labeling myself an alcoholic made no sense to me. I didn't need that kind of negativity in my life. I understand why I shouldn't put alcohol in me, and hopefully you understand why you shouldn't put alcohol or drugs in you. You have to really dig deep inside and find out why you should not put any alcohol or drugs in yourself ever again. For me, it was pretty easy because I understand if I do, there's a good chance whatever happened in my past is going to happen again. The trouble I got into is going to happen again, maybe even tenfold. I don't want that. So that's my motivation for staying sober. And there's other things, but I don't want to go back there. I realized a long time ago that I didn't need alcohol in my life to have a good time. Now, before, I'll be honest with you, I always thought I had to have alcohol in me to have a good time. But I realize I don't, and I'm cool with it. And hopefully you're at that point in your life. And if you've been sober for a while, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Life goes on. We just don't put alcohol or drugs in us. There are people out there that wear the term alcoholic and addict as a badge of honor. They like other people to know about their sobriety, and some of them, not all of them, I don't want to offend you if you're not one of these people, but they want that little pat on the back. When you tell somebody you're sober, and they go, well, good for you, I'm proud of you. I can't tell you how many times people have told me they were proud of me, and they never knew me before that moment. Somehow the conversation was, hey, do you want a drink? I would say no. And sometimes they ask, why not? You don't drink? I tell them, no, I used to drink years ago. I don't do it anymore. And they would always say, well, good for you. I'm proud of you. You don't even know me. You have no idea what I did in the past, but you're proud of me now because I don't abuse alcohol? Okay, that's cool. Personally, I'm just grateful that I was able to stay sober and get away from that mess that I was in. I don't need a pat on the back. Now, in wrapping this up, I just want to make sure I didn't offend anybody. And if I did, I apologize. I'm just not a big fan of the words alcoholic and addict. I don't think we need to be labeling ourselves that for the rest of our lives. And that's just my personal opinion. I know other people feel the same way, but it's your choice. It's however you want to do it is fine with me. Just stay sober. Get on with your life. Don't put, a drink or a drug in you, no matter what and no matter what, and just enjoy your life. I just do it without labeling myself an alcoholic. So until the next time, remember, this channel is all about your sobriety and my sobriety, and we'll see you the next time.
Staying sober with Papa Joey. We're staying sober with Papa Joey. We're staying sober with Papa Joey. It's all about your sobriety.